our plans were that we would have a family with 2 children, a boy and a girl. We had a perfect family. We had decided not to have any more children, but God's plan was different, and it was a plan of beauty from ashes. Hi, I'm Catherine McCoy.
And I'm Jason McCoy.
And we want to talk to you about our story in orphan care and adoption.
I guess our story starts with me being very uncomfortable with the whole idea. Catherine saw situations at school where she worked and would come home and talk about these children that had very little and in some cases had nothing. And had mentioned us becoming involved in foster care or something, some type of orphan care for quite some time. And I was just not in. I thought we had our hands full with our own family and our own kids and our own lives and careers and didn't have time. I guess I was a little scared of it too.
2 of our family members ended up needing temporary care. And so we received a call for orphan care. We received a call saying, "Can you help?" And obviously we said yes, and we became part of the foster care family network that we now know very well. And so we took our foster care classes and agreed to help with 2 family members that stayed with us for over a year. And we received a call for our 2 little ones, 2 4-week-old babies, twins.
I don't know. I was always afraid that the kids would feel like they were secondary to our own children. That they weren't as important or weren't as special. And I guess if you had told me then that you could ever love a child that wasn't biologically yours in the same way you love your biological children, I wouldn't have believed you. But it's absolutely true. You do. You fall in love with these guys.
And so picking up our story from there, our twins are adopted, and they came to us at 4 weeks old as these little helpless babies. And God's plan for them was that their birth parents would raise them. God's initial plan was a plan of submission and a forgiveness for everybody that they were involved in. And their story changed, and God had an alternate plan, and we were just blessed enough to be part of that. And so adoption for us is huge. Just the word adoption has changed in us. It's helped us to reconnect with God. It's helped us to see that we are unworthy, and yet He calls us His.
It's the personification of the gospel in my mind now. And when the Bible talks about us being adopted into God's family, that makes sense to me now in a way that it never did before.
And to think about orphan care, we continue in orphan care. Our newest son came to us through orphan care. And again, we thought our family was content and happy and perfect. And what we have grown to learn is that God stretches us, thankfully, a little bit at a time. And so He stretched us again and made us realize that there's room to love even more than what we thought we could handle. Not by way of number of children, but by way of just how much love you can give. And so God's good in that. God's good in letting us meet families and to know families that are like our own. They've just not realized sometimes the potential love of God. And so we have participated in orphan care. We've continued to participate in orphan care to get to know those people, to love people who need to know their value, who have forgotten their value or have never been told their value, because we want to tell them their value. We want to say to the children that come to live in our homes that they're important and that they're loved and that they're not forgotten and they're not abandoned. They're not abandoned by God.
Just to bring these kids into your house, and you don't know. I mean, we get these phone calls, and there's a voice on the other end of the phone that we've never heard before saying, we have this brother and sister. They're 8 and 7 years old, and we need somewhere for them to go. And they show up, and you don't know what to expect with these kids. They come into your house, and they just act like they're at home. And we had no idea. We had no idea we had 3 more little babies out there looking for a permanent, forever home with us. We had no idea we'd be a part of over a dozen children's lives in just a few years' time. It's just amazing.
I know our family, too, we've discussed several times if it's worth loving these kids over and over and over and investing. And every time we've been able to conclude that it's so worth loving with the fear of losing and never knowing the outcomes of where these kids are and where their families are and if they've accepted the Lord or not. It's so much better, and it's so worth loving and losing than not loving them at all.
So I guess our story is God took a family that thought it was living the perfect life, the perfect American dream with a Christian spin, serving in ministry, full-time jobs, son and daughter, right ages apart. I mean, we had all this planned. And God showed us that He's bigger than our plans, and that His plans are bigger than our wildest imaginations, and that true family is more than just the DNA you share, but it's sharing a common bond that is love. And that's what Christ showed us on the cross.